I hope the fan in the background is not too loud or annoying, but man, I'm not going to make it if I have to turn that thing off. It's like 36 degrees outside. There's no AC in here on right now anyway, and can't open windows, so yeah, just in Studio Venus. And I wanted to make this video, again, not too much thought put into it, which is my hallmark, I guess. But I was driving, and I was, it'll be in the vlog later, where I was just talking about like, oh, you know what, like memory is like, wouldn't it be crazy if you could just like remember everything? That'd be sweet. Or like, but then I was thinking like, I just had like this short little thing, because I had a line in my head and I forgot it. And I just had this little short little thing, and it turned into something else, and I was like, hey, I'm going to cut it off right there. And I was going to have a conversation about it and see where it goes. Haven't had one of these in a bit, something like this. Exactly. So I guess the question is like, what if you could control your memory? Or what if you could remember everything? Like, what are the implications of that? What would the results and the consequences be? Advantages, disadvantages, things like that, right? So that's kind of where this is going. I again, haven't thought about it too much. I like to come to these things kind of fresh, and sometimes that goes awry, and sometimes it's okay. So I guess the first thing, like I said, the context was that like a line of words entered into my mind, and then I very quickly forgot it. And then I started thinking about like, why I wish you would just remember everything. So I mean, let's say you remember everything and you can control your memory. I guess there's two different things there. One, what if you remembered everything? That would obviously be bad if you remembered everything. Besides the fact that our brains only have so much space for stuff or whatever, it kind of, to some degree, filters out what you've maybe trained it to filter out in a way. And obviously, there's things that I want to remember that I don't for some reason, because it's just like, oh, that's not important. We don't have to remember that. You can do certain things to make your, like pneumatic devices to try and remember things better, whatever. Anyway, so if you could just remember, if you had to remember everything, that would be really, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that would be really painful, right? Because eventually you could forget how much something hurt, or you don't feel the pain of that thing as much, or you forget about, like sometimes people repress memories of like trauma and stuff, right? So if you had to remember everything, that would not be great. But that's why I was like, okay, well, what if you had the choice? What if you had the choice to remember everything? I'm like, do you know how efficient and organized and whatever else you would be? No one would have any more excuses for one thing about like, oh, I forgot. No, you didn't. You did not forget, because no one forgets anything. I guess the you here is like the everyone, right? So it's like, well, no. So then people would have to actually communicate effectively with you and be honest, which, whatever, if they don't want to hang out, they should just say like, I don't feel like hanging out anymore, rather than, oh, I forgot about this, or whatever. I forgot to bring the thing. But that's the thing, is like, I think things would go so much quicker and more efficient and smooth, and whatever, but like, oh yeah, I remembered that thing. There's no way I could forget because I chose to remember. It's like you just have like a switch that you flip, that you just, yeah, my rememory is on, so I'm going to remember all this stuff that's happening right now. And then, like, what if later on, and this could be a cool Black Mirror episode. Anyway, later on, what if you could decide, I want to forget this memory. I don't know how you would, like, I don't know the technology or whatever involved, or like just the biological process that it would be if this was a thing we could do as humans, but like, if you could somehow take a section or take a category of their day or whatever, and be like, yeah, let's forget about that. Like, there's a lot of implications there that'd be really interesting. Immediately I start thinking of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is like the saddest movie ever, and if you want to get sad, then watch it. It's good, it's really good, but it's sad and I don't like being sad. But I mean, in a way, you do get a choice in that movie to an extent as to erase memories, which is not like a spoiler. It's like right in the trailer. So, yeah, it's just like, if you had that option to erase memories, I mean, how do you know that you don't want to recall that thing later? And what would it mean to like never have to feel things you don't want to feel when it comes to remembering negative things? I just think that's interesting to think about, because it's like, hey, at first my whole thing was like, man, imagine like how much writing I would have right now because of how many times I've thought of a line while I'm riding my bike, or while I'm just driving down the street, or it's super late at night and I'm like half asleep and I thought of something and I can't even grab my phone and type it in there or get a piece of paper and a pencil. Like, like, how many times could I have just been like, hey, yeah, we're going to remember that, and I remember it, and I would have that, and that would be amazing. That's why this whole thing started. Like, that would be sick. And then obviously just like, I wouldn't ever have to write things down and be like, I remember all the books on my list that I need to look for when I go to a used bookstore. I remember my grocery list. I remember my schedule. You wouldn't need, like, for me anyway, so many apps I have are about organizing things, like a to-do list, or like a notepad, my calendar, you know what I mean? Like, things like math, like I can't, a lot of the reason I didn't do well in elementary and high school, I guess, were because like so much of it is based on memorizing stuff, like things by rote. Like math, like you learn a formula, then you should be able to apply the formula, but you have to, but learning the formula means you have to remember the formula and how it functions, right? Like, it's not anything that's critical thinking. There's not a lot of critical thinking involved there, in my opinion, when it comes to like, oh, there's like a formula, you just apply that to the equation and then you have an answer. It's like, yeah, but I don't remember the formula. Like, or if I don't remember the date or time that a person said something in history, but I remember what the cause and effect was of like what happened, like that's what's important. Anyway, the thing is that like memory is such like a part of what people judge others by too, like not only academically, but I mean like then like I said, like there's a thing like, what if everyone remembered everything or had the option to? Then no one could get away with being like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I think that would lead to more honesty, hopefully, and better communication skills and just like whatever. Because I'm like, you can never know, like, did you forget or did you not forget? Did you forget 5 times in a row? Why don't you just say you don't want to do it? Like, no, that's not it. I genuinely forgot. I'm like, put it in your phone. Like, right, like, we make an appointment, put it in your phone. Like, I don't know. That's not really something that happens to me, but, like, I don't know. It's just an example. Anyway, so that's where that was coming from. But again, like, what if you could control the memories you don't want to have? Like, what would that do to you as a person? What would that do to your psyche? It's like, yeah, I had this breakup, I just want to erase, you could erase like sections of the relationship, like I only want to remember the bad stuff. Here's where it gets into the thing. As soon as you forget something, would you remember, or if you choose to forget something, would you remember that you chose to forget the thing? Because the thing you're choosing to forget is gone. So you'll just remember, like you'll just be like, yeah, I chose to erase my memory yesterday, I don't remember about what. I think that would drive me kind of nuts to be like, I don't remember what I forgot, like, because I had the choice. So it's different than just like, oh man, earlier I was thinking of this thing and like, oh, I can't remember now. It's really different to have the choice and be like, yeah, I chose, like, or if you just forget, if you choose to forget sections of the relationship, let's say, and it's like, I just want to forget about everything good so I can demonize this person and move on more with my life, right? But I mean, that has implications. What do you see that person later and you've got this thought of them being a horrible, horrible person to you and whatever else because you only remember the bad stuff and you don't even think about like, yeah, well, I had a part to play too and like I kind of messed up and like, I guess we were both at fault. Like there's no, how do you reflect on your own behavior when you just demonize this person? Or what if you forget the whole relationship, but then the other person doesn't forget and then walking down the street and they see you and then you're like, who are you? It's like, wait, we were together for 5 years. Like, how are you doing? Like, I just wanted to say hi. Like, what? And then the person's like, oh, I guess they forgot me. That's messed up. Like, I don't know. It'd be really interesting. I mean, as far as, like, I'm sure there's other movies that have kind of done something similar other than Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which, isn't exactly like that. It's just, the old thoughts kicking around the noggin. Again, I think it would be really interesting to explore that idea, which is what I'm doing right now. But, I mean, like, to actually have it happen, I really wonder what that would be like, if that was something like, if it was something that we all had from, the beginning of time of human existence or whatever, or if that, like, if we had that from the very beginning as part of our biological makeup, it wouldn't be weird, obviously, right? But how would it be used? I'm really curious about that. If we would run into those problems or what? What if it was something that we like evolved What if we evolve that ability right now? Still biologically, it's not a technological advancement or tool that we create, but we just naturally evolve it. I mean, the first like 10 years with that, or the first year with it, like how would that change? Because we like, oh, this was life before the change. This is life before we could forget or we could remember everything, or before the choice. I don't know what to call it. I feel like I'm writing a short story in my head now. But it's like there would be a very distinct difference. Like this was life before and life after is completely different. And then like 1 year or 5 or 10 years later, how do things shift? How does the world work now that we have these choices available to us? And if it was technological, well, even if it's biological, right? Like there's certain abilities that some people have that other people don't. That's just what happens. Some people just like think of eyesight or like a sense or something. Like some people don't have, they're nearsighted or they're farsighted, they're like completely blind or whatever, right? So they have 20/20 vision right off the bat, and they stay that way. So I mean, that ability could be stronger in others maybe than other folks. If it was a technological thing, then I mean it becomes like a thing about class too, and then it's just like, can you afford the technology to do this? Like, only the elite people can. But again, why would you want that ability? I mean, you'd want it for like the good stuff, all those things about like, I don't have to carry, well, just like the apps or whatever. Like I can just be like, yeah, I made an appointment, I got it, and then you know it. Like everything that you've learned, you just remember if you want it there. It's just like boom, it's right there. That would be amazing. I mean, because I don't reread books very often. I mean, I rewatch movies and stuff. I guess it would take the fun out of a movie, right? But then you could just watch new ones. But I mean, because if you could have like a photographic memory or whatever and recall every moment of a thing you've seen, that would be crazy. Like having a photographic memory of just like every experience you've had with another person, and having to make the choice of like, do I keep that experience? Do I want to have that in my life anymore? Do I want to just be able to recall it like that? Man, I think our lives would be really sad if we could do that. Because I mean, I take the choice away from myself, even with things like, it doesn't so much happen now, but in the past, especially when Facebook was kind of just a new thing to me, and I was younger as well, and going through like breakups and stuff, be like, hey, just delete all the pictures, you end the relationship online, you might block the person even, or their friends or something, so you don't see pictures of them. And then you don't have to think about it. It's way easier to get over. But you still do think about it every once in a while. That person is still there. But if you chose to forget them, then you couldn't even choose to get the memory back. I mean, maybe that's something that's an option. Maybe you can choose to get the memory back. But I don't see how that would work. But none of this would work. I just, again, thought it was an interesting thing to explore. Just like, I don't think it would be a very good thing. Put it that way. If you had there's the good and then there's like the really bad. I think that the negative consequences outweigh the positives. If it was like you can control your memory, like full stop, you can choose. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts?